Hey guys, today we talk about Trump's immigration problem. We look at Turnbull's tax cuts getting through the Senate, and Coles and Woolworths go bagless. It's 23rd of June 2018, and this is what's going on. Alright, separated children at the border. As a matter of policy, the US government is separating families who seek asylum by the US by crossing the border illegally. Dozens of parents are being split from their children each day. Their children labelled unaccompanied minors. They're sent to custody or foster care, and the parents are labelled criminals and sent to jail. Between October 1st, 2017 and May 31st, 2018, at least 2,700 children have been split from their parents. 1,995 of them were separated over the last 6 weeks, so there's been a huge influx, indicating at present an average of 45 children are being taken away from their parents each day. To many critics of the Trump administration, family separation is an atrocity. Articles depict children crying themselves to sleep because they don't know where their parents are, and one Honduran man killed himself in a detention cell after his child was taken away from him. But the horror can make it hard to wrap your head around the policy. Family separation isn't sudden, nor is it arbitrary. While the Trump administration claims it's taking extraordinary measures in response to a temporary surge, it is entirely possible that this will be the new normal. Here's what you need to know about understanding what it's all about. So to be clear, there's no official policy from Trump stating that every family entering the US without papers has to be separated. There's a policy that adults caught crossing into the US illegally are supposed to be criminally prosecuted, and when that happens to a parent, separation is inevitable. Typically, people apprehended crossing into the US are held in immigration detention and sent before an immigration judge to see if they will be deported as unauthorized immigrants. But immigrants who have been referred for criminal prosecution get sent to a federal jail and brought before a federal judge a few weeks later to see if they will get prison time. That's where the separation happens, because you can't keep children in a federal jail. Trump administration officials claim that they only separate families at ports of entry if they are worried about the safety of children, or they think there's not enough evidence from the adult to be the child's legal custodian. So at the ports, it's okay. The big issue is when they're coming over illegally, like trying to cross the border without papers or anything like that. So when the Obama administration attempted to respond to the crisis of the families of unaccompanied children crossing the border back in 2014, it put hundreds of families in immigration detention, a practice that had basically ended several years before. But federal courts stopped the administration from holding families for months without justifying the decision to keep them in detention. So most of the families ended up getting released while their cases were pending, which immigration has called they call it catch and release. In some cases, they disappeared into the US rather than showing up for their court dates, and I'd say that's a lot of cases in that. They're letting them out and say, come to court. They're saying, no, I'm not going to turn up to court, and they just get lost in the system. The law addressing unaccompanied children was passed overwhelmingly in 2008 and signed by George W. Bush while restricting on detaining families as a result of federal litigation. Now, Trump signed an executive order requiring that immigrant families be detained together when they are caught entering the country illegally for as long as their criminal proceedings take. This is the executive order. But it may violate a court settlement on how long children may be held, setting up for a potential legal fight unless Congress acts on its own to deal with the issue. Trump states that it's about keeping families together while at the same time trying to make sure we have very powerful and very strong border. So at the end of this, the executive order can be challenged by the DOJ because it's pushing against laws which are already in place. But the Congress could change this. So Congress really needs to have a look at this. And this isn't a new thing. It's been happening for years. So people just need to calm down and try and let the processes work its way through. Alright, Malcolm's tax cuts passed the Senate. Malcolm Turnbull has hailed it a win for working families after the Senate approves 7 years of tax cuts. Personal income tax will be cut by $144 billion over the next 7 years. The Senate has approved the government's budget promise to progressively cut income tax. The bill passed with a 37-33 after a heavy debate whether it helps bankers or battlers. They argue the cuts are unfair because they're too generous to high income earners. Labor's Senate Leader Penny Wong said 2/3 of the benefit would go to high-income earners. Mr. Turnbull insisted this is thoroughly fair. He also states, "Today we have seen a massive win for hard-working Australian families. They will be able to keep more of the money they earn. It's their money, they earned it, and we should take no more of it than the government needs to deliver the essential services Australians rely on." The Prime Minister argued that after the plan is implemented in 7 years, those earning more than $200,000 would pay a larger share of personal income tax than what they do now. So Malcolm Turnbull has secured the most significant tax reform since the GST when the Senate's passed this $144 billion personal income tax cut, which will affect 10 million Australians. But the Prime Minister faces a new battle in the Senate next week over company tax cuts. So at the end of this, we're all going to end up with a little bit of extra money in our pockets, but we're not going to see it as a weekly payment. It's going to come through as your tax return. You'll notice it there. All right, Woolworths will get ahead of its rival Coles by phasing out single-use plastic bags nationwide 10 days earlier than it was planned. Shoppers at Woolworths supermarkets, BWS, Metro and petrol stations will no longer receive plastic bags from June 20th. They will either have to bring their own or purchase thicker reusable bags for 15 cents or the canvas bag for 99 cents. Hold on, Aldi's been doing this for years. Why are they so slow to catch up to this? But anyway, at least they're catching up. Coles will stick with its previous announcement of July 1st, which will coincide with the legislation coming into effect in Queensland, Victoria and Western Australia, which will also join South Australia, Tasmania and the ACT with banning the bag. New South Wales is the only state without legislation or a ban coming into effect, but the major supermarkets will withdraw bags voluntarily. Our teams have been working hard behind the scenes to accelerate the rollout of this plan so we can start making a positive impact on the environment as quickly as possible. That's from Woolworths CEO, who stated that on Wednesday. He also stated, "We know this is a big change for our customers and store team, and we need to do all we can to make the transition as seamless as possible for both." Coles will also be removing their bags from some of their stores later this month. Single-use plastic bags have become a huge problem in Australian oceans and waterways, where they cause significant harm to turtles, whales and fish. They also don't break down in landfill and require significant resources to manufacture them in the first place. Experiences in countries like the UK and Ireland have shown the introduction of a small charge on plastic bags can end up reducing plastic bag usage by up to 85% as shoppers embrace reusable alternatives. And we have every confidence that this can happen in Australia too. Woolworths, which says it distributes more than 3.2 billion plastic bags every year, has previously been criticised for its excessive use of plastic packaging on fresh produce, bananas, sweet potatoes, all that sort of stuff. Spokesperson for the supermarket told the Herald Sun it was trialling to remove or reduce the plastic packaging for fruit and vegetables. It had already removed packaging on products including spring onions, celery, kale and spinach. In 2012, a review of South Australia's bag ban found that 15% of consumers purchased bin liners before the ban compared to 80% after, increasing some skepticism about the broader environmental benefit. In 2011, a report by the UK Environmental Agency found single-use plastic bags actually had the lowest overall environmental impact in 8 out of 9 categories compared with heavier options when the entire production and transport life cycle was taken into account. Alright, the Fast Five. We start off with number 1. Optus is hopeless. Optus has dramatically struck a deal with the SBS to allow 2018 World Cup to remain on free-to-air TV for next week, as it vows to hand cash back to its customers who signed up for its streaming service. Optus Chief Executive Alan Liu announced the embarrassing backdown via a phone conference with reporters Wednesday afternoon following the weekend of outages from fans unable to watch games due to streaming problems. That is absolutely terrible. But if you're not an Optus customer, you can watch it on SBS now, which has its goods and its bads. Number 2, Australians suck at cricket at the moment. Oh my God. England stormed to a world record 6 for 481. It's a one day. They demolished Australia's bowling attack in the third match of their one-day series in Nottingham. It came on a miserable day for Australia's largely second-string team, falling well short in a 242-run loss after being dismissed for 239 All out in 37 overs, still 2 runs short of half of England's total. It's Australia's heaviest defeat in one-day history. It gives world number 1 England an unassailable 3-0 series lead with 2 matches still to play. I'd say just get on the boat, come home. Number 3, strengthening hate speech laws get passed in New South Wales. The bill to make it a crime to publicly threaten or incite violence on the grounds of race, religion, affiliation, sexual orientation, gender identity, and intersex or HIV or AIDS status. Individuals who incite violence against a community or a person based on their race could find up to 3 years prison and $11,000 fine. Number 4, Canada legalizes weed. Canada's Parliament has passed a law legalizing the recreational use of marijuana. The Cannabis Act passed its final hurdle on Tuesday in a 52-29 vote in the Senate. The bill controls and regulates how the drug can be grown, distributed, and sold. Canadians will be able to buy up and consume cannabis legally as early as September. The country is the second in the world to legalize the drug for recreational use. Number 5, a Bega teen charged with assault and intimidation over vicious school assault. Now I'm going to put the video on after this. I know this doesn't go along with the fast fight, but this is just disgusting. The victim was taken to hospital after following Tuesday's assault. She suffered from injuries from her face and bruising. Her attacker was charged by police on Tuesday evening with assault occasioning bodily harm and intimidation with the intent to cause fear or physical harm. She was granted bail and will appear in Children's Court next month. The video from the attack was posted on Facebook, where it was shared by a number of people a number of times who filmed and distributed the footage. And the children which actually filmed the footage have faced disciplinary action from the school itself. But check out the video, it's a little bit disturbing.
Just like any 13-year-old, this girl has a right to feel safe at school. But on Tuesday, the Year 7 student was subjected to this, a vicious schoolyard attack at Bega High. Defenceless, she's thrown to the ground where she hits her head on the concrete. The little girl cowers in the stairwell, punched in the face, pulled by her hair and kicked. It's only at this point another student intervenes.
I find it disgusting that people just stand and watch another student getting bashed.
Child psychologist Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg is fronting a government review into mobile phones in schools, aimed to stop this very type of behaviour.
The fact that very few people did step in and try to intervene is a shame.
The review will consider a ban on smartphones in primary schools and restrictions in high schools. It'll be hard to enforce, but the government says something needs to be done to stop the frightening increase in cyberbullying.
Whether that's sexting or cyberbullying, it's very clear to the New South Wales government that this is an issue.
The bully, who is also 13, has been charged with intimidation and assault. She'll be suspended, potentially expelled, while her alleged victim recovers from severe bruising and trauma. Freya Cole, 7 News.
It boils your blood, doesn't it? Now, an issue I've got here, other than the disgusting attack on the child, is they're stating that phones are a problem. I doubt that this story would have gotten so much traction without the video footage involved in it. Now, I know they're saying that people aren't getting involved, but I think the best thing a student can do without putting themselves in harm is to record it, because not just the evidence alone to be able to convict the attacker, but also the availability for it to be published and broadcasted. Now, taking that away, I feel that these sort of things would just slip under the table and you'd hear about them, but you wouldn't be able to get such a momentum behind such a video like this to try and cause action to change. Well, that's it for another week's news, guys, on what's going on. If you've liked it, please leave a like. If you really like it, please subscribe. And if you want to be notified of upcoming videos, please don't forget to hit the little bell button next to the subscribe. If you want to contact me, you can in wgo@adamelder@gmail.com, or you can contact me on Facebook or Twitter. Till next time, enjoy yourselves.